Looking to get into Modern, but don't want to spend more than your student loan debt on just one deck? Splinter Twin at $1,000. Jund and Junk at $1,700 each. Time to go back to basics with a mono green Elves deck like Collected Company Elves. Modern Elves was previously a costly combo build, but the printing of Collected Company has breathed new life and new strategy into this tribal powerhouse. Best of all, budget builds can be put together for about $150 to $175. The full non-budget version can be had for no more than double that cost, which still keeps this in the realm of relatively low for Modern. It's actually only a few cards that are responsible for this high price. Most of this deck can be had for pennies, so let's take a look. This is an Elf Lover's Delight, using all the iconic cards so many of us dream and long to play. Play sets of Llanowar Elves, Elvish Mystics, Elvish Visionary, and Nettle Sentinel are probably already in your collection, and if not, are all very affordable. Another play set of Elvish Archdruids gives us that elven synergy and green ramp. One of our classic win cons is Uzuri, Renegade Leader, which we will run 2 to 3 copies of. Since we are in green, there's tons of tutoring, which I'll discuss in just a bit, and the goal is, once we have an abundance of mana, to drop Uzuri and ramp up our army of elves. So where's the cost coming from in this deck? Well, unfortunately, we need to play full play sets of 3 pricey cards. That's right, only 3 cards of any significant cost, and they are Heritage Druid, Collected Company, and Chord of Calling. Until just the other week, Chord was dirt cheap, but Big Magic saw this deck started winning and chose that piece to raise in price. Hopefully you grabbed your playset when it was nice and low. But it is our main tutor card, and as you'll see in just a moment, this deck also has a wonderful toolbox aspect to it, so Chord is critical for grabbing what you need when you need it. Heritage Druid is the classic costly piece, but it works wonders with cards like Nettle Sentinel, generating mad mana to empty your hand onto the battlefield. Collected Company is the card that really brought this new Elves build together. Its mana cost easily paid with all this ramp. With it, you can dig deep into your library and grab any 2 creatures you want, since everything in this deck costs 3 or less. The fact that this is seeing play across formats, both in Modern and Standard at the moment, is what is keeping costs so high. So what else? The deck also runs 2 Eternal Witness to get cards like Collected Company, or something critical like Uzuri back from your graveyard. Witness helps you fight removal, which is always high in Modern. The deck is not always mono green, as most builds run 1 mirror entity to help pump your creatures up. Now, you can fetch this out with Chord of Calling even if you don't have a white source. And if you feel like tweaking, I've seen a few lists run a singleton Craterhoof in its place, but I'm actually rather fond of the mirror entity. 1 Reclamation Sage keeps any pesky enchantment or artifact from ruining your day. Again, think toolbox. You chord for the Sage right when you need it, surprising your opponent. 1 Scavenging Ooze is great hate against anyone playing around too much in their own graveyard. And if you get your board wiped, it makes good use of all that burial ground of dead elves. 1 Spell Skite is a must. Again, Modern is going to have a lot of targeted removal, so this is absolutely mainboarded in the deck. You can pick up a nicked Modern Masters one for a lot more reasonable a cost right now. But here's what I really love about this deck. It's very customizable. Actually, the deck this reminds me of most is my beloved Merfolk, because it lets you make minor tweaks and changes to suit your meta or just yourself. For example, I personally run 1 to 2 Elvish Champions for the Forest Walk alone. But there's so many other options, some of which include Fauna Shaman, a couple Essence Wardens perhaps. I've even seen builds running 2 Manamorphose. This is a deck you can buy and build to reflect your interests and strengths as a player. I'm just such a fan. Alright, let's talk lands. So if you're doing the budget version of this, and you really want to, you can just toss in 19 forests and be done with it. Keeps the cost low. No, it's not ideal, it's not optimal, but that's the budget build. Just stick to mono forests. Heck, even in a budget, there's nothing wrong with running Okina, Temple of the Grandfathers. It comes into play untapped, it gives us green, and in a pinch it can be used to protect Uzuri from a shock. The most obvious land upgrade would be 3 Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx. If you're gonna ramp, let's go all out. This is an amplifier for the mana ramp available, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the price will drop down lower, if only for a bit, when it rotates out of standard. Another obvious auto include is a full playset of Cavern of Souls, and yikes, there goes the budget build. Still, Cavern is great for this deck. It keeps us from ever getting countered, and can even give us white mana for the Mirror Entity. Speaking of Mirror Entity, another great thing about this deck is how easily it can splash white. And if you do that, it gives you so many amazing options. Your land base is going to need a playset of Razorverge Thickets for a white splash. And if you are absolutely not running budget, you can optimize this build with Horizon Canopies, whose late game draw really gets this deck in high gear. Another optimal land inclusion is a Pendelhaven, but I don't personally run this. The sideboard is super flexible and filled with so many options. From a few extra Eternal Witnesses, to cards like Choke or Melira, or Fracturing Gust to handle everything from islands to affinity. There's just so many tools you can put in your kit here. I love how flexible this list is for meta hate. And of course there's white sideboard options as well. Collected Company Elves is just such a joy to build and fine-tune, and the playstyle is classic Magic. Aggro wins, rampant pump, toolbox answers, what's not to love? And a reasonable price as well. While this deck may not win you the Pro Tour, this is perfect for all the elf lovers out there who just want to sit down and play green. I hope this video has been of some help to you, and this video has been brought to you by the generous support of patron alums at Patreon, and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.